A standard static solar panel throws away a huge chunk of its potential energy at both ends of the day, morning and evening, simply because the sun is rarely hitting it square on. But what if your panels could actually chase the sun? Well, there is such a panel that does just that, and it is called SmartFlower, a self-contained unit that unfolds 12 tracking petals at dawn, follows the sun until dusk, then folds itself away. The whole thing, ships assembled, is installed in about an hour, scrubs its own panels clean, and even retracts into a protective shell when the wind picks up past 30 miles an hour. If its numbers survive scrutiny, this system could completely reshape the math for any home with a yard. Today, we are putting to test the claim that this system gives the owner a 40% improvement in performance and that the price tag attached is worth it. So is it? Let's dive in. Rooftop solar only pays off when your roof cooperates, and a surprising number of them do not. The panels need a decent slope, a southerly face, and clear sky with no shade from a chimney or a neighbor's tree. Miss any of those and the math falls apart. When you fold in renters, shaded lots, and homes with poor credit access, the picture gets stark. By one widely cited analysis drawing on National Renewable Energy Laboratory data, roughly 77% of US households are likely ineligible for a traditional rooftop installation. That is the majority of the country, locked out of the most common way to go solar. Even the homes that do qualify give up a lot of their panel's potential. A fixed panel only points straight at the sun for a moment or two each day. The rest of the time, the light strikes at a slant, and the energy it collects drops away with it. By early morning and late afternoon, a flat rooftop array can be losing well over half the power it could be catching if it were aimed properly. Then there is the install itself, which pulls in roofers, electricians, permits, and the structural question of whether your roof can even take the weight. It is the kind of multi-day, multi-trade job that puts people off before they start. Cost, eligibility, and wasted sunlight are the three problems SmartFlower set out to solve at once. The system was developed in Austria in 2010, founded by Alexander Swatek, and built around a simple idea borrowed from nature. A real flower opens at sunrise and turns to follow the sun, so the machine does the same. It launched in North America in 2016, where investor Jim Gordon set up and now leads the US arm. What arrives on site is a single sculptural unit on a central column, fully wired and assembled at the factory. There is no array of separate parts to bolt together. The installer fixes it to a base, connects it, and the whole job can run within hours rather than days. When the sun comes up, the column unfolds 12 monocrystalline panels, the petals, into a fan around 16 feet across. Two motors then take over. One swings the whole head from east to west through the day, and the other tilts the petals up and down. Together they hold the panels at a near-perfect 90-degree angle to the sun from morning to evening, which is the trick that captures the extra energy a fixed roof cannot. That tracking is the headline feature, but the design solves two quieter problems at the same time. Because the petals sit out in the open air, rather than pressed against hot roof tiles, air flows freely behind them. That keeps the cells up to 18 degrees Fahrenheit cooler than a rooftop panel, and cooler cells run more efficiently, lifting output by another 5 to 10%. It also cleans itself. Long brushes are fitted along the underside of each petal, and every time the flower folds open or shut, those brushes sweep across the panel face beneath them. Dust, pollen, and snow get wiped away on their own, which matters because soiling alone can quietly shave a few percent off a neglected array's yearly output. The same folding mechanism doubles as storm protection. The unit watches the wind constantly, and the response comes in two stages. At around 29 to 30 miles an hour, the petals drop flat to a horizontal position to cut their exposure. If the wind climbs past roughly 39 miles an hour, they close up completely into a tight shell that the company says can ride out hurricane-force gusts. Once the weather passes, it reopens on its own. All of this is tracked through a phone app, and the unit runs its full daily cycle automatically. Put together, a single SmartFlower carries a nominal 2.5 kilowatts of panels and produces somewhere between 3,800 and 6,200 kilowatt hours a year, depending on where you live. Those production figures are where the system earns its central claim, because 2.5 kilowatts that track the sun behave like a much bigger fixed array. SmartFlower puts the output of one unit on par with a 4 kilowatt conventional rooftop system. You are getting the yield of 4 kilowatts from 2.5 kilowatts of actual panels, purely because they are always aimed correctly. The honest place to start, though, is the price, and it does not flatter the flower. A SmartFlower runs around $25,000 to $30,000 installed. On its nominal 2.5 kilowatts, that works out to roughly $10 per watt. A standard rooftop array of similar real-world output costs closer to $3.50 a watt, and a conventional ground-mounted system sits near $3.75. Crediting the tracking gains softens that a little. If you price the flower against the 4 kilowatt system, it performs like the effective figure drops to about $6.50 per watt. That is the fairest way to read it, and even then, it lands at roughly twice the cost per useful watt of ordinary panels. The premium is real, and no amount of clever framing makes it disappear. It is worth clearing up the tax picture, because older write-ups still quote a post-credit price near $18,900. That number assumed the 30% federal residential solar credit, and that credit expired at the end of 2025 under the One Big Beautiful Bill Act. Anyone buying in 2026 with cash or a loan no longer gets it, so the sticker price now stands much closer to the full amount. Where the flower does pull clear of a roof is on the things a roof cannot offer. It needs no roof at all, which brings solar to that 77% of households shut out of the rooftop route. It is portable, fixed by just a few bolts, so a homeowner who moves can take it with them rather than leaving it behind. And it holds its output far better than a flat panel under snow, where a fixed array struggles. There is a cheaper way to be visible about solar, of course, which is a plain, ground-mounted array in the yard. But that is a fixed bank of panels with none of the tracking, none of the self-cleaning, and none of the sculptural presence. The flower is selling something those cannot. The case for paying that premium leans on what is happening to electricity prices, and they are climbing hard. National residential rates pushed up to around 18.8 cents per kilowatt hour by early 2026, a jump of as much as 9% in a single year. On the coasts, it is steeper still, with California, Connecticut, and Massachusetts all sitting above 26 cents. When the rate you pay the utility climbs like that, every kilowatt hour you generate yourself is worth more, which shortens the payback on any solar system, premium ones included. Sitting underneath those bills is a deeper strain on the grid itself. After years of flat demand, US electricity use is rising sharply, driven by the boom in AI data centers and other heavy commercial loads. The Energy Information Administration expects commercial demand to surge in 2027, and in fast-growing regions like Texas, the grid operator is forecasting enormous increases in the years ahead. That pressure pushes wholesale prices up and makes the grid less dependable, which is exactly the climate in which generating your own power on site starts to look less like a luxury and more like insurance. For all its appeal, the flower carries a problem that ordinary panels simply do not have, and it comes down to all those moving parts. A fixed rooftop array has nothing that turns. SmartFlower has 2 tracking motors, a set of gearboxes, the folding petal mechanism, and the wind sensors, all of it exposed to weather year after year. Every one of those is a part that can wear, seize, or drift out of alignment. A single failed motor can stall the whole head and knock a big chunk off a day's output. What would settle the worry is a long record of units running trouble-free in the field, and sealed, maintenance-free drives built to last decades rather than years. The warranty does not yet reassure on that front. The panels themselves carry a 25-year performance guarantee, but the system as a whole, the motors and mechanics most likely to fail, is covered for only 5 years. A conventional installation typically backs both the hardware and its output for 20 to 25 years. For a machine whose whole pitch rests on motion, that short window puts the long-term repair risk on the owner. History adds a note of caution too. The market for sun tracking hardware has thinned out as plain panels got cheap, because it became easier to just add a couple of extra fixed panels than to maintain a motorized frame. The original Austrian maker went insolvent back in 2017, and the wider solar sector has seen a run of installer failures since. A complex, proprietary product depends on its maker staying around to service it. That financial footing matters as much as the engineering. The flower's route ahead runs through becoming more than a striking object in a courtyard. The US operation is moving manufacturing toward New England to steady its supply chain, and it has built out the range to answer the obvious gaps. The clearest of those is storage, since the base unit, like most grid-tied solar, goes dark in a blackout. The SmartFlower Plus folds in a lithium iron phosphate battery. That lets a home bank its own power, ride through an outage, and push self-use toward 100%. A separate EV version builds car charging straight into the column, aimed at the offices and plazas where the unit doubles as a visible statement. If you are weighing one up, availability is not the holdup. You can buy a SmartFlower today through certified installers. The wait is for the price to come down and the mechanics to prove themselves over time, both of which tend to arrive as technology like this matures. What SmartFlower really changes is who gets to say no to their roof. For most of solar's life, your roof set the terms, and if it faced the wrong way or sat in shade, that was the end of it. This is the first product to treat the roof as optional and hand that choice back in a form people actually want to look at. The price is still high, the warranty still short, and all those moving parts still have to prove they will last. But with power bills climbing, the grid straining, and the technology only getting better with each version, the reasons to own one keep growing, even as the trade-offs stay honest. Solar is shedding its one fixed rule, that your roof decides everything, and the next few years will be worth watching closely. Hit subscribe if you want to follow where the house itself is headed next.